Well, boys, looks like you started the fun without me.
You're all sick. Every last one of you.
We're going to need a bigger gun.
What's the matter? You scared of things that go boom, boom?
Give me one goddamn reason why I shouldn't blow your goddamn brains all over that goddamn wall.
My name is Eric, and I'm here today with my robot friend, Michael Kester.
Wow, look at you.
Yeah, well, there's going to be a lot of robot jokes. I thought we'd start early.
That's good.
We have... okay, so here's the thing. I'm looking down at the iPad. It has the names of the movies we're doing today written on it. No one's even going to download this because of how absurd the title is.
Right.
What are the films? I'll make you do it. That was the smart choice.
We're doing Rocky 4, which is the fourth Rocky film.
Okay, that's a little weird, but go on.
And Kill Bill 2, which is the second Kill Bill film.
We're doing Rocky 4 and Kill Bill 2 on the show.
Yeah.
How the fuck did we get here?
We made a mistake somewhere early on.
We knew this would happen eventually, right? I mean, that's... If you, by chance, have not heard Double Feature before, or you're tuning in for the first time,
right,
or you just really love Kill Bill 2, those are all fine things that can happen. They can't happen this week, so get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Don't listen to this show this week. Or at the very least, use the chapters. We're going to spoil these two movies. Someone sent us an email, and they said, it's hard to listen to these shows because... you guys talk about two movies, what if I haven't seen one? And really? I responded to them.
With that
yeah,
email?
They did. And I responded and I said, we have chapters. And they emailed us back and they're like, I'm going to be honest with you. I know you mentioned that every show. I don't know what those are. So chapters are, I don't actually know how to explain chapters. That's probably why no one knows what they are.
You go into your iTunes and then you go up to the, one of the drop-down menus.
There's a menu for it.
Yeah.
It skips the movie is what it does.
Yeah.
That's the end benefit for the user.
Right.
It skips over one of the films to the next film, so you don't have to get spoiled on the one film.
Right.
And most devices support it. So
and if it doesn't support it, if your device is unsupportive, we have timestamp markers.
You're right. In the lyrics section or on the website, you could just go to doublefeatureshow.com. You click on the link for this particular episode, and then I feel like I'm over-explaining it now.
No, it's okay. You know what we'll do is we'll just do a chapter montage.
Oh, no.
And that'll roll us right into Rocky
I'm sorry,
4.
we can actually only do 6 montages per episode, and I'm saving that quota for the first film. So here it comes. We're going to spoil Rocky 4. Don't start with Rocky 4. If you want to go home and watch, or maybe you're already at home, watch Rocky 1 and Kill Bill 2.
Yeah.
At least the numbers go in order.
Yeah, or Rocky 2 and Kill Bill 2. That's fair.
Yeah. Don't start with Rocky 4. Skip it. Use the chapters. Skip it. You and I, however, have done our homework. We've done the previous 3 episodes. We're going to start with Rocky 4.
Okay, so we kind of been doing this Asian martial arts thing paired with the Rocky movies, and we're moving forward in time with both.
Great. So we had the first Rocky movie. What was that with?
We did that with Shogun Assassin.
Okay, everyone remembers that because no one who didn't listen to that show is listening now. None of them.
Right. And then we did Rocky 2 with Sex and Fury, a.k.a. naked fighting.
Great.
And then we did Rocky 3 with Kill Bill. That was last week.
Yeah, people should remember that.
Now today it is Rocky 4.
The fourth movie has a robot.
So it also has a Dolph.
It does have Dolph Lundgren, which I knew would be the only way I would get you to watch the entire film.
Yeah, it worked.
Yes, it did. So there's this thing in this movie. It's called Paulie's Robot. Now, this is kind of like when we talked about Silent Night, Deadly Night, and Garbage Day.
Right.
The internet already knows about Paulie's Robot. They're already big fans. If, for whatever reason, you didn't watch Rocky 4, which is also something, I'm just willing to excuse the listeners for anything today. There's a robot in this movie. It's, here's the thing. The Rocky movies, they don't have a lot of characters.
That's true.
And as you're quickly discovering, they like to just kill off their characters.
Yeah, they're killing off Rocky's mentors.
Yeah, left and right.
That's a bad spot to be in. If you're Rocky's mentor, it's a bad place to be.
So rather than adding an eclectic cast of characters, they keep the same characters because they're tried and true. These are great characters. Everybody likes them. Let's keep the same. Let's add a robot.
And Paulie.
Well, they didn't add Paulie. Paulie's been there the whole time.
I know, shamefully. I hope he starts mentoring Rocky, or at least get some snowshoes.
Well, he was Rocky's training buddy this time, so
Fingers crossed for Rocky 5.
I'm not going to make any promises or anything, but it's looking pretty good.
Anyway, back to Paulie's Robot.
Yeah, so I've had the fortunate experience, the pleasure of being introduced to Polly's robot previously. But maybe you could just break down. I'd like to know what was going through your mind as you were invited into Polly's birthday party for the unveiling.
Well, first off, I was mad that Polly was miserable. That just irritated me. But then this robot comes out, and I don't remember what it was called. I used to know what it was called because I looked it up online.
The robot?
Do you remember that robot from the 90s that was like a quiz bot?
Oh, I remember.
And you would like push buttons to answer fucking cassette tape questions?
It had 4 buttons on the bottom.
Right.
I totally know what you're talking about.
It comes out with a birthday cake, and it's sentient, and it has AI, and it gives Polly his birthday cake. Polly is not a fan until he reprograms it to be a sexy, naggy wife bot.
Well, hold on. You're forgetting about Polly's birthday song, which is the small techno number.
Right.
Happy birthday, Polly. So when this robot's on the screen, and here's the reason that the robot
with or without a beard
is full of meme-worthy amazement, is that literally every second it's on the screen is awkward. I mean, every single thing it does is cringeworthy.
Yeah.
So this robot has, let's say, something of an internet presence. And I don't want to ruin this for anyone. Just start Googling. Have a good time. There's what is that? YTMND? YTMN?
Oh, yeah, something like that.
You're the Man Now Dog, whatever the abbreviation for that is. It's from
Finding Forrester?
Yes, the Gus Van Sant movie. Yeah. Right. It's a single-serving webpage thing. There's a Twitter for Polly's Robot. It doesn't even have a name. It's just called Polly's Robot. As you may surmise, it doesn't get a lot of screen time in the following 2 films. But man, does that internet love it. So yeah, you're right. Then it changes to a woman's voice because it wasn't awkward enough.
Right.
And then it becomes a pleasure bot at some point. It brings Polly a beer. There's that awkward love scene.
Yeah.
Between him and the robot. But they don't bring it to Moscow, thankfully. We had to talk so long about the robot because it's the entire plot section of the movie.
So the robot is probably, if you look at the cast list of the film, based on what
Screen
happens.
Time and
so we've seen the first 3 Rocky films.
It has more lines than Dolph Lundgren. It literally has more lines than Dolph Lundgren.
And that brings me around to this point. The most talkative Rocky character gets his head punched off in the first 15 minutes of Rocky 4.
So this is the tragic loss of Apollo Creed. And, I mean, the real legacy that ends up being left behind by Apollo Creed is that he's the only person who acts normally around the robot.
Right.
When he sees the robot, he thinks, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
No one else even seems... I'm sorry to keep going off on this robot.
It's okay.
They have artificial intelligence in their home. They have harnessed the power of AI, and this is what it's being used for.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you have to give him a break. He's been boxing for 20 years.
The robot or...
Oh, I thought we were talking about Rocky. So anyway, Apollo Creed, who hates the robot that you love, adore, or love to hate, he gets his head punched off by my hero, Ivan Drago.
Yeah.
So Ivan Drago is played by Dolph Lundgren, who we talked about with The Expendables. Mm-hmm. He is my favorite, 80s, 90s action hero along the lines of Schwartz. Basically, take the cast of The Expendables, all the movies they've been in combined, Dolph is my favorite. This is his first major role. Sly Stallone kind of found him, fostered him, made him an actor, made him a face in American cinema. And the thing about Ivan Drago that I just couldn't get past is I felt like the movie wanted me to hate him really bad. He kills Apollo Creed. He punches America's head off.
If he's dead, he's dead.
My feeling about Ivan Drago is... he is a very, very, very well-trained athlete who is representing his country and then gets forced in. Like, by the end of it, we have the Russian premier coming down saying, you're disgracing our country. And he's standing there going, I just fight for me. I'm a fighter.
Yeah.
I'm not here to represent Russia. Yeah. I'm here to win the fight because I'm a fighter.
Yeah, he never really says anything terribly patriotic.
He never says anything patriotic. He never says anything hateful. He's very blunt.
Sure.
He says things like, I have to break you. But he doesn't say, I want to or I will.
Sure.
More just along the lines of, essentially, I mean, going back to the robot, but in a more philosophical sense, he's been programmed to kill Rocky.
Sure,
He's been programmed to win these battles. That is his purpose. That's what he's there to do.
Yeah, you said something really interesting as we were watching this because of how ridiculous the robot was, and then, going over to our antagonist. You asked me if he was going to turn out to be a robot.
Yeah.
Now, this says a couple things. So I want to deconstruct this just a tiny bit. First of all, as you're watching this movie, it's hard to remember that this is, in fact... and when Apollo Creed dies, I mean, there's kind of this moment. This is a movie brought to you by the people who brought you the other Rocky films.
Right.
It was still written and directed by Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, the only reason that that's made clear is because they keep showing us the old Rocky films.
Sure. Hey, look what we did previously. The reason I think that's hard to remember is because it's so incredibly 80s. The reason it's hard to remember is living in America, right? Because of James Brown, who, by the way, took the robot on tour with him. That's not a joke.
James Brown is awesome. Was awesome.
So in the context, as we're watching this, it is the kind of film that makes you wonder, what can he turn out to be a robot at the end? The first time I saw it, myself and the girl I was watching it with both had the exact same question. Is he going to turn out to be a robot at the end? So that doesn't, now that we're talking about it, it sounds really fucking absurd that in a Rocky movie it would get really sci-fi.
Right.
But it kind of feels that way.
Well, and they pull it's very similar to the 300 thing, but when Rocky lands that punch and he starts bleeding, they step back and they go, you made him bleed, he's human.
Sure.
That's the first time you see him ever show a sign of being anything other than an immortal fighting machine.
Absolutely. The theme that the movie is striving for is regarding technology. It's not quite man versus machine.
Sure.
Although there's some of that. But I think it's, in being a commentary on the USSR and the Cold War, it's talking about the technology that's used for the Cold War. The Cold War being a war that's fought mostly through politicking and through technology, right?
And fear.
Well, I think that goes without saying. War, fear, propaganda.
True.
I mean, these things are commented on really even without trying. But, you look at this film itself is in line with, the Superman Nazi propaganda.
Right.
This is absolutely an 80s propaganda film.
And if you want to talk, man versus machine, or at least the commentary on technology, I think it's the 16th montage where we have Rocky training... a Rocky training montage against a Ivan Drago training montage, where Ivan Drago is montaging in this super high-tech gym.
Sure.
And Rocky is montaging against that montage, but also in the same montage with farming equipment, rocks, a mountain.
Yeah, he's climbing the mountain. He doesn't have any steps, so up the mountain he will climb.
And so that, there's a direct juxtaposition, and Rocky wins. So, I don't know if that's so much, I don't know if it's making the point of technology isn't the answer, because at the same time, Ivan Drago is a fucking tank.
Sure.
And Rocky doesn't beat him the way Ivan Drago was trained to win. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Rocky beats him because he's Rocky and because Rocky keeps coming.
Sure.
And Ivan Drago isn't prepared for somebody who will get up when he punishes them.
Sure. Rocky represents humanity here.
Yeah.
Not even just so much America, although it's definitely that on the surface.
And then by the end, it's very much he's just humanity with the whole speech about changing. The great dictator Light.
Well, and the crowd there, turns around and decides to love Rocky and really embrace him as their champion. Mm-hmm. What I think it's doing is Trojan horsing a message about humanity.
Sure.
It's pitting us in what we expect to be an us versus them Cold War tale.
Right.
And then towards the end is saying, well, we're all human beings. We're all trying to unite in this thing. And I think that's what makes it man versus machine. In a time where we feel like that was one of the interesting things about the Cold War is that the technology took it out of our hands. We talked a lot. What show was that? We did a Cold War show. Colossus, right?
Oh,
the Forbin Project. Yeah. So we talked about the Cold War in there, and that was another one where it was technology has taken this out of our hands. And that was the fear that movie was preying on. Mm-hmm. So here in talking about man versus machine, the entire reason for discussing that is to take us out of the mindset of that surface, U.S. propaganda film that people showed up for, and to bring us around to the point of, we can dominate the technology that scared us into this fight.
Right.
This is a fight we feel we have to embrace because what else do you do? The nature of, spies and satellites and drones, something that's even still kind of terrifying today, wars fought with drones. That's nothing, there's no personality to that. That's not something a soldier can decide to put down his gun and stop fighting.
Right.
It's out of our hands. So I think when they're showing Rocky taking these natural methods, it's not so much just to show humanity crushing the machine, but to re-empower humanity.
Sure.
To basically say, look, this guy's going to train using all this advanced equipment, and Rocky's going to train using tree stumps.
Sure, it's a statement to say that while both are effective, neither is prevalent, except in the case of building Paulie a wife, because no one will ever love him.
I mean, the Cold War we can handle, but Paulie is definitely another story. So, I mean, it's weird to see these similar themes tackled in another movie we did on the show only a year prior in Terminator.
Oh, yeah.
There's another movie from the 80s, far more science fiction movie, but still an action film that is talking about man versus the machine.
Sure. It's also talking about dark roads.
No, that's Terminator 2.
Oh, my bad.
It's still 80s, but it's a distinctly different feel.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was the dark, brooding. I mean, honestly, it was a horror film.
Mm-hmm.
And this was the pop film. This was the film that could have James Brown in it.
And it had the Rocky title. I mean, Rocky is still carrying weight as a franchise.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this was, I think this was the most popular film of the entire franchise, at least monetarily.
Yeah.
One of the more successful ones. So, to use it as a vehicle to tell this story or to send this message, it has more power than something that is, let's say, a little more timeless, like Terminator. So as we look at all these Rocky films, this one definitely is going to stand out as being distinctly different from the others.
Well, because it's shorter, there's almost no dialogue, and it's almost all montages.
It's true.
But also...
Well, even aside from that, it's using the Rocky franchise to tell less of a story about Rocky and more of a broader idea.
It's a commentary, in a way.
Well, it absolutely is. The way it talks about tribalism and nationalism. You mentioned it already with our antagonist. I mean, he comes to America, everybody hates him, but you and me. Mm-hmm. We think, well, this is just a guy doing his job, and he's pretty polite, especially for as much, crap as boxers talk.
Well, plus he knows he's a killing machine.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even...
It's a point that Bill tries to make in the next film. So he comes to America in the beginning portion where we're still masquerading as being simply a Cold War film or a straight up us versus them film. And so America hates him. And it's only when we return back to his country that we see, the rah-rah James Brown number that we had.
Yeah. That
Rocky rolled his eyes at a little bit.
Yeah.
And, that was very Apollo Creed. That's very the previous showbiz we've talked about of Apollo Creed. But when we get to Russia, when we get to the USSR, that nationalism, that's how you and I probably felt about the earlier stuff.
Yeah.
It's so much more apparent as tribalism because of how utilitarian it is. Mm-hmm. It's one unified front. It's everybody standing in the same direction with a very serious look at their minimalistic red banner, hammer sickle, singing a foreign national anthem that us Americans do not understand. And I think that's the first moment where, an audience does not necessarily, but can consider, oh, this is what it looked like when they came over and we had our little dog and pony show. Mm-hmm. So all for rah-rah America when we're celebrating ideas and people and culture, but fuck tribalism. Yep. And I think that's where I want to end on Rocky IV.
Sounds like a good plan.
Which brings us into the second volume of Kill Bill. Kill Bill Volume 2. When you objectively stand away from the Kill Bill movies, it's very easy to pick out which one is your favorite. Mm-hmm. That's a question that everybody asks all the time. And I always think about it and go, Kill Bill 1 is my favorite. And we watched Kill Bill 1 last time, and I said, yep, definitively my favorite. And then we saw Kill Bill 2 just now, and it's really fucking good. Really fucking good. You come off of that and you go, yeah, that one is definitely better.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that great episode before Penn and Teller Tell a Lie. There was a show called Penn and Teller Bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember the one about always preferring the second choice?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the more recent choice. You see Kill Bill 1, you think it's great. You see Kill Bill 2, just naturally, I think you go, wow, that was even fucking better. And I love the idea of thinking of them both as one movie. Maybe not even so much one really long movie, but a collection of it divides it up as chapters.
Yeah.
I like the idea of these different chapters in different genres and thinking about it more so as what's your favorite chapter and less of what's your favorite, volume. I think that's a more interesting exercise. Tarantino was talking about, Kill Bill was something he was doing on the path to Inglourious Bastards, when that was still chewing up all his time, trying to figure out how the fuck to make that into a movie. He did it because, he thought this would be fun for Uma. Uma had a lot of really terrible experiences in filmmaking, and so this was kind of his way of going, oh, we'll put together this, this fun movie, and she came up with a bunch of the ideas and stuff. And this was going to be, this was essentially going to be his Grindhouse. This was going to be his gritty, exploitation. Let's just do a quick, dirty 90-minute kung fu movie. And that says so much about Tarantino right there, is that he does a quick, dirty 90-minute exploitation film, and it turns into
a 4-hour 2 film,
maybe more than
epic.
4 hours, right? Part of that is the way we talked about on Inglourious Bastards, about how he gets his characters talking. And, once you have a loose outline of where you want the movie to go, and you start these scenes, the scenes might get fleshed out a little bit longer than you think. But he used a really interesting method in writing this movie where he wrote it like a novel. He wrote out this story, not in script format, but just in long, a novel format. And then had the laborious task of day in and day out transcribing the pages in a fashion everyone else on the set could fucking read. And that probably lended to, that as well, just trying to think so much about... It's one of the things that fascinates me about Rodriguez is the different kind of convention-betraying ways that he makes movies. Or things like when we talked about doing video storyboards or things like that. Having not gone to film school, not knowing the technical, this is the way you make a movie. Tarantino approaches this with a different method too, and I like thinking about it like an experiment, seeing the results. What if instead of writing a script where X amount of pages is X amount of minutes, what if instead you wrote it like a novel? What would that accomplish? And I think here that gives you a much longer movie, but maybe one that in your head is more distinct too. You spend more time figuring out your scenery. Yeah. And, one of the great things we talked about last episode was the colors, not just in the color grading, but in the set design, in that scenery. And then you think about an experiment, something like splitting Kill Bill into 2 parts. It's not unprecedented, but it's certainly done in a strange way when you're committed to, all right, I have one giant epic to tell here. I'm going to split it seemingly arbitrarily down the middle. You have these odd decisions where, in the first half, we're going to do certain things. In the second half, we're going to do them differently. Right. For the most part, I remember them being very distinctly different. Sure. But they actually fall in line as one film a lot more. You have things, though, like Bill in the first movie. You commented last episode talking about really liking that you don't see Bill's face at all. Yeah. In this movie, we don't waste any fucking time. We jump right into, all right, you're going to see Bill
playing his flute.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about Bill. He's going to be playing a flute. Yeah, you get to know him. Yeah. This section, but I think that's one of the very few changes they commit to making between the 2 halves.
Well, and the other thing that I think is absolutely bizarre and amazing about where the line is drawn between Volume 1 and Volume 2 is that it just disregards a linear story.
Oh, yeah.
Volume 1 is in between Volume 2.
Right.
Volume 1 happens. We have the whole thing with Copperhead and the hospital scene and whatever, but that actually kind of gets wedged in between because they do flashbacks in Kill Bill 2 and they never tell you where they are. You kind of have to make the judgment based on where you think they are, and then you re-gauge that when you see a character who's alive that you would expect not to be.
Well, that's one of the great things about spending what's now your 3rd and 4th hour with an audience.
Sure.
Is you have that trust, even if you're a timid person as a director and feel the need to, use something to tell your footage apart or whatever. Like when we talked, I'm thinking about Hellride, of course, Larry Bishop being in this movie. Yeah. but you use a color scheme or something to kind of go, this is in the past and this is present day. This is a movie that goes, well, my audience has been around for, first of all, Tarantino loves his fucking audience.
Yeah.
But beyond that, they've already been around for an entire volume.
Right.
By the second volume, we're just going to put stuff in random order. You'll figure it out. Yep. And you really don't even think about it.
No, that's
You're just getting details. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. The whole wonder that is Kill Bill is in 15 minutes of Kill Bill Volume 1, you know the story.
Yeah, right.
It's just showing you in gratuity how it all went down. You know that what happened is Bill shows up at the bride's wedding, shoots her, she goes after him. Everything else is gravy.
You forgot the part where Samuel Jackson plays the man. I love that he has such a small part in here that Tarantino has to bill him as, Rufus, he's the man.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, how do you convince Samuel Jackson to be in your movie for 2 minutes?
Same way you convince Sid Haig, I guess.
I'll buy you lunch. Is that the method? Regardless, I enjoy the idea of buttering Samuel Jackson up as, you have a really important part. You're going to play the man in this movie. And then just leaving out the part where he's in it for 25 seconds. That's during one of the many genres in the many different chapters. Yeah. What I always forget is a genre, because it's kind of a bridge piece between the two volumes, is that it starts super film noir.
Sure.
Because what genre have we not hit by this point?
And later on, they flat out pick on The Postman Always Rings Twice.
They do, yeah.
Which we covered, a year or two back in the show. But
turns out this show prepares you very well to watch Kill Bill. Yeah, it always feels so rewarding to me, especially in Tarantino movies, because he does it so often. Where he picks out these films that we have covered on the show. I get a little joy inside, like we outlined our study guide pretty well.
Well, if I can pat us on the back, and we don't need to get into it quite yet, because there's still a little bit more Tarantino to cover. No, I think there's plenty
of time for patting on the back.
But they mention flat out in this film, and then watch Shogun Assassin.
They do. Now, this wasn't something we reverse engineered. I forgot.
Haven't seen Kill Bill 2 in at least a year, right? At least a year?
I would say at least a year. That sounds about right.
And in that time, in the interim between the last time we saw Kill Bill and this time we're seeing Kill Bill, neither of us had seen Shogun Assassin until after.
True, yes.
That said, we chose Shogun Assassin as the first film in this whole
Asia
series,
awesome,
independently of knowing that it even gets flat out mentioned in Kill Bill 2.
Well, with a legacy like Terminator and The Prophecy to live up to, I'm just, anytime we can make this look less mangled and more like something Quentin Tarantino would have given us a big thumbs up on, I feel really good about it.
For once in 4, almost 5 fucking years now, we can say we got something right.
Hooray. So I'm kind of starting to feel like Pee-wee's Big Adventure, hitting all these different genres. Yeah. I love seeing Quentin Tarantino do film noir. I love how fucking bold and loud it is. And I mean, for a show like ours that just did Sin City not terribly long ago, that's definitely, Frank Miller's film noir is bold and loud.
Yeah.
But fuck, Tarantino's doing it, and it's just got the music cues, and it's not a gritty comic book with, a bunch of splat. There's no violence. It's just a woman driving a car, but fuck, that music and the whole thing is just to the nines. It's awesome. I would love to see more Tarantino noir. I think that's great. Another one of the times that he's showing off, in one of the first moments beyond the noir kicks in, and I'm thinking, fuck yes, Kill Bill 2 is where it's at. But then there's that dialogue exchange pretty early on between Bill and Buddy, talking about how Buddy has essentially hawked the Hattori Hanzo sword.
Yeah.
He has pawned it, and I just fucking lose it. It's just the funniest goddamn thing.
Michael Madsen owns Bud's role.
I know.
He just fucking owns it. He breathes Bud.
The subtext to it, I think a lot of what was written for him as well in what you find out about that character after he dies. Once he's gone, and building up before that, all he has to build up beforehand is that he's a fuck up, right? And, Bill's reaction to that is great too. You sold a Hattori Hanzo sword. Talking about how it's priceless. Right, yeah.
You hawked
God.
a Hattori Hanzo sword.
You know, and he can't hold down a job as a bouncer in a place where there's no one even to bounce.
Yeah.
Talks down at him like he's a kid, like they're not the same goddamn age. But so you believe Michael Madsen, total fuck up, can absolutely buy that. Gets fired from his bar, goes home, starts drinking. Later, after he dies, and all it takes is that one thing. You see he still has the sword, albeit next to his fucking golf clubs, but he still has the sword. He didn't pawn it. He's playing on a little bit of a higher level than, not necessarily than all the super deadly ninja assassins, but than anyone expects of him, right? He's doing the same thing as the bride. The bride wanted to get out. She wanted to move to Texas and work in a record store. How is that any different than what Buddy's doing? Right? I mean, He wanted to move to Texas and work at a fucking strip club.
Living the dream.
He wants to leave that old life behind him. And that's part of, where, I sold the sword and making the jokes about it.
And using a double barrel shotgun where his sword should be.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he's got a fucking Hanzo sword right there. Shoots rock salt into her chest. In that heavy, folied fucking... It just sounds so good when that door busts open.
Well,
Every
it's
little
just this
splinter
amazing...
you feel that.
It's the first action moment in Kill Bill 2.
That's true.
And Kill Bill 1 has been swords screaming and
from the
bouncing
beginning.
off each other.
The first thing she does after being shot in the fucking face is, pull up the pussy wagon and kick some ass.
And in Kill Bill 2, we get the beginnings of what is bound to be the first big sword fight. She pulls off her mask, the score swells, she gets her sword ready, she kicks in the door,
Boom.
Shotgun.
Yeah.
Turns out you brought a knife to a gunfight.
So much defeat so early on. What's that unexpected, moment? They return to that. The whole thing around the camper, around the trailer, there's so much action in there that comes from being that unexpected breed of action. Very different than the action we get with Pai Mei, which I want to talk about. But, there's that other moment where Elle goes to leave Buddy's camper. The whole thing happened with the snake and the money, and she's about ready to walk out. And at this point, we all believe that the bride we know she's not dead, but that's what the characters think.
Sure.
And we've been talking about her as if she's dead for so long. She's so far from our minds. Elle goes to open that door, and she just gets fucking...
Super fly kicked.
I was going to go with Liu Kang flying kicked.
I will accept that.
It's just unexpected action like that is the best kind of action you can get. It's, when it's delivering like this, it's brutal and it's fast, and the sounds, again, are perfect. But, here we thought we were going to have some more talking scenes.
Sure.
It was a scene where she was leaving. She's probably going to get in her car. She's going to drive down the road.
Doesn't care who the snake is.
Yeah, we're just hanging out with characters. But instead, surprise.
Surprise, you're fighting.
Yeah, surprise, one of the best fucking action scenes in either of these films or ever is going to happen right now, and you didn't even know it was coming.
Takes out her other eye, first of which was taken by Pai Mei.
Well, she called him a big dumb jerk.
And you don't do that. You don't do that
just
with Pai Mei. Pai Mei's a rough character.
The environment that they're fighting in this trailer is, it's tiny, but it's also a huge it's a palace of a trailer. But it's a trailer so small that you can't even unsheath the fucking sword. So there's that same kind of constriction right after we're getting out of, the scene where she's being nailed into a coffin.
And you watch the light just disappear.
Yeah, that light scene is great because it's one of those things where, it's an interesting idea about light we haven't talked about for as much as the show goes on and on about lighting all the goddamn time. And by the show, I mean me again, as usual. Sorry about that. This is an idea with light we've never talked about. This is a light being a prop, or I'm going to say something really loaded here, but I want to explain this and I'm going to validate it. I think the light is playing a character in this scene.
Wow.
All right. So on Double Feature, the idea is never to add more pretension when unnecessary, but rather to tear down the pretension.
Right.
Now I realize when I come on the show and say something like, the light is a character.
You just anthropomorphize theoretical particles on Double Feature.
I know, it's true.
Everybody just skipped to the end of our show.
So here's what I want to do. I want to explain, let's pretend I didn't say that, but that some other film snob said it.
Okay.
I want to explain what somebody means when they say something like the light is a character, because I think that's one of those things people just throw out and then someone goes, "Oh, that's so profound," and no one ever calls them out on it. When I think to myself, when I wrote down in the stupid notes here that the light is a character,
You mean
light
that it
equals
has a
character.
trailer, it has a deli tray, it gets paid by the hour. Part of
I don't
it's
think
part of the
actors
Screen
get paid
Actors
by
Guild.
paid by the hour.
Some
oh
are.
my god! You know, Paulie's Robot is also in the Screen Actors Guild.
Wow.
It's not even a joke. Still not even a joke.
So other than those things, how is the light a character?
You're super aware of it when it comes into play because it's the only other thing in the coffin with Uma's character. The only other time I think we probably, I mean, I guess if we were to really fish for it, we could have found this in other movies. The Descent probably has, you know, lots of light that's really apparent as an object within the scenery because you rely so heavily on it. The characters rely so heavily on it. I guess just to construct the frame, the cinematographer also relies heavily on it. What makes it, in my mind, a character in this scene is the fact that as an audience, you're forced to anthropomorphize that light. It's not something you're doing as a film snob, but something that's really, it's forced on you. You miss that light when it's gone, like it just died. You know what I mean? She's holding on to that like it's her last hope. And as it's going away and you're hearing that awful nail sound, you feel it die and you miss it.
Yeah.
It goes away from illuminating the frame and all hope is lost.
That's very true.
It's a great move from a cinematography standpoint because you could have, I mean, you could do the hopeless thing where she goes in the coffin and that's the last you see of her. You know, the nail, you're just watching somebody hammer in those nails and hearing the screams from underneath. Maybe you do a long take and it's just bleak and hopeless. But instead, you give what would usually be more of a breath of fresh air, more room, less claustrophobic, in that you're cutting from different scenes. You're showing the outside and the inside. But every time you see the nail get hammered in on the outside, you're seeing a little less light. You watch it disappear. You're holding onto it like it's the fucking rope, you know, when you're over the cliff. And when that light goes away, you think about it like an object that's disappeared. It's not an object. It's like you said, maybe not a theoretical, but an abstract thing.
Right.
But then it disappears and you miss it. And so if I'm going to say something crazy like the light is a character,
Which you did.
I did do that. Or, you know, a prop that you are very fond of. That's going to be why I say that. The ability of the filmmakers to make you feel that way about an abstraction is brilliant. It's amazing.
It's true.
It's impressive is what it is. Pai Mei. Let's talk about Pai Mei a little bit.
Let's talk about Pai Mei
Also
a little bit.
brilliant, amazing, and impressive. The Pai Mei section is unique in being funny.
Yeah.
And that's also something that, I mean, talk about filmmaking as a goddamn craft. It's funny through camera work.
Sure. Well, it's really similar to Black Dynamite,
Uh-huh.
where the characters don't know it's a joke.
Yeah, right.
And that's what kind of makes it funnier.
Yeah, you know, in my head as we're talking about this, I'm thinking, wow, when is it ever funny via camera work? That's a weird thing.
Yeah.
But you're right. Black Dynamite, a film that is in a tiny way derivative of some Tarantino stuff. Or they at least go to the same midnight showings. So that answers the question, who the fuck uses the camera to tell jokes? These fine filmmakers
Crazy
do.
people.
Crazy people do. Excellent answer. But the way in which it's done, I mean, you know, the characters are available for jokes to be made. Let's say that. They're not cracking jokes, but
Sure.
they are available. You know, Gordon Liu who was the head of the Crazy 88 last time around, and great that he has a double performance, much like Esteban.
Michael
later.
Parks, yeah.
Yeah, later in the movie. But he's funny. I don't want to sell him short and say he's not funny. But I think Tarantino could have shot this in a way that makes it just as... I mean, when you see Uma Thurman repeat these 5 heart-exploding pound pressure thingy,
Right.
it's serious.
Yeah, well,
it's
that's
suddenly
the thing,
serious.
is there are lines in the film that are stupid if taken,
Right.
if taken out of context. If you were to read them on paper, people would roll their eyes nonstop.
You mean all of Bill's one-liners?
Yeah.
All of Bill's cutesy romantic one-liners?
Absolutely.
But it's because he's fucking from Kung Fu.
You
right?
own it.
Yeah.
As long as the character owns it and everybody who's filming it is involved and really believes these characters and wants them to be badass,
Yes.
it's going to come across that way.
I think that goes just as much for the people behind the camera.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, that goes just as much for the people build, because that atmosphere is what sells those jokes. You know, the big one you notice from a technical standpoint is the dismounting kind of zooms, where the camera jerks as if the operator, sloppily reached to crank the front of the lens for the zoom. Rather than just sitting neatly on a tripod, there's no technical precision. It's not one of those Kubrick slow zooms. Instead, it's just, hey, give me that camera. As long as you start with your subject in focus and you end with your subject in focus.
Yep.
It's just cheap, quick, dirty filmmaking. And that's how that old stuff was made, and that's what it's calling back to. And we can all notice it. I mean, you see that stupid zoom, and you don't need any of the fancy, overexposed, washed out, green and blue, whatever the fuck grainy thing is going on there.
You get
to know it's a callback.
Yeah, you get the genre. It hits right there.
In fact, you get a couple of those toward the end. Just dealing with Uma playing with her daughter. Those same kind of like pullback zooms in there. There are a few shots that are just completely out of focus in that section. But I mean, the camera stuff, that's what sells the atmosphere. That's what makes the absurd fights and the sounds and the absurd Gordon Liu better. It's that context. It also makes those impressive fights, because it's there for jokes. You can buy into a couple things like the weird, catch your foot with my crotch.
Right.
Or one of the most impressive things in the whole goddamn movie. Yeah, standing on the sword. One of the biggest icons from Kill Bill is insanely absurd. But given the context of everything that's happening and that it's there for jokes, it's also really impressive.
Another thing, and I know you want to talk about a certain aspect of this because, surprise, surprise, we can't get away with doing Tarantino without doing another particular human being. But there is actually...
Robert Zombie is the name.
There's a third human being that I want to touch on that really makes a lot of the moments in this film. Score-wise, the score...
the RZA,
during...
obviously.
What?
The RZA is clearly who you want to talk about.
No, not him either. So it's there's scenes during the Pai Mei thing where the music is reminiscent of Ennio Morricone.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't say it's Ennio Morricone.
Really? You wouldn't say that?
Reminiscent.
I think the soundtrack might say it is.
Nothing works better for me, score-wise, than at the end, when Bill is dying and it plays the Navajo Joe song.
Yeah.
Navajo Joe is a really good... It's a Sergio Corbucci as opposed to the Leones, but Ennio Morricone did the score.
I joke about that, but there are, 4 or 5 Morricone songs in here?
Yeah.
I mean, there is still a lot of stuff that's lifted from other places.
Right. But again, like I said, it's not all Morricone. There is, of course, Chingon.
Maybe if we just always refer to Robert Rodriguez as Chingon, then
you just blew the load, man.
Oh, damn it. The load?
You blew the
sorry,
load.
Can we go back for a second?
You let the bag out of the cat, man.
So it is the RZA again, but it is also Robert Rodriguez, this time with Robert Rodriguez. And it's hard to know because films love to do this. Films like Spiral love to do this, where they have an incredible score and no one's allowed to have it.
Sure.
You just can't.
Just covering double feature shows, films on double feature that need soundtracks, if we can just make a running list.
Sure, please. What
Spiral.
else?
Super Beasto.
Oh, God damn it.
Spun. Countless more, but those are the 3 that come to mind.
Yeah, what the fuck, guys? Just release the songs.
Get on the goddamn ball.
We'll buy them. Isn't there a period of time after which those things become public domain anyways?
Yeah, I think it's 60 years.
Yeah, well, that hasn't happened yet. I was going to say 50. It won't happen in our lifetime. We will be dead by the time there's a Super Beasto soundtrack.
Not only may it happen in our lifetime, but we will probably still be doing double feature.
Here.
That'll be way after the Twilight Killapalooza.
I think you just brought hope and killed double feature in a single moment. The one piece that I know distinctively is it's called something like Buddy's Trailer Suspicion or something. It's all the music when the bride is hiding outside, being suspicious outside Buddy's trailer. And it's Rodriguez when you hear it because of the fucking guitar strumming, the really fast picking on one string. We touched on it a little bit before, and music seems to come up anytime you talk Tarantino. It just has to, but it's an incredible collection of different pieces that make up a soundtrack. This is the first time that it's really some original score. The RZA did some stuff, kind of fill in pieces between different longer sections of music in Kill Bill 1, but this is actual songs that are kind of composed for the movie, and that's a first time for Tarantino. And that's when the whole I'll pay Robert Rodriguez $1 to do this score, and he'll pay me $1 to me in this situation is Quentin Tarantino, by the way. pay me $1 to direct that one scene with all the pretty colors in Sin City. My only point here is that even if for no other reason than to know what the RZA and Rodriguez did in this film, just release a fucking score, please. Just, I want to hear the all original music, even if it's 20-second pieces from this movie. What the fuck, guys?
Surprise, BB.
Wow, you really caught me off guard with the child at the end here of the podcast.
Go fucking figure.
Okay. Just let me know, other human being in the room. Are you always surprised that BB is alive at the end? I never remember that.
Okay, so no.
Yeah,
And
I figured that answer was coming.
what I am surprised with is how endearing that scene is.
Yeah, I know.
It's just shocking how
Oh my God.
Bill, this cold-blooded motherfucker, well, pre-motherfucker, mother-maker fucker,
There you go.
is just this wonderful daddy.
Yeah, no, fuck him. I'm still on the fuck Bill
I don't
bandwagon.
know. I think Bill and Drago, for me, that's too much empathy.
You're being a wonderful human being this
Look
show.
at me.
You know that? Wow. Applaud that robot friend, Michael Kester, over there.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, the kid you thought was dead is alive, and look at her. She's grown up enough to talk to you
And shoot at you.
play pretend guns. And you're right. It's so fucking endearing. It doesn't make me feel very good about Bill, but it does make me feel really fucking sad, or I'm not even really sure what the emotion is. I'm just feeling
what it
for the
is
bride.
it doesn't matter what the emotion is. The fact of the matter is it's a sudden influx of compassion,
Sure.
which you've been devoid of
As you're
for the
slaughtering people
entire
left and
two
right.
films.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just bam, little girl.
Yep.
And suddenly your heart, your steel throwing star of a heart,
Yeah.
melts back into the human organ, which then gets
You're-
popped after 5-finger palm death heart
I
explosion.
also forget they watched Shogun Assassin.
Yeah, I didn't know they watched Shogun Assassin because I didn't know what the fuck that was.
The movie is so inspired from that old Grindhouse stuff,
Yep.
as we've figured out up to this point.
And proven.
So here's an interesting note, though, and something that otherwise no one may ever question of Quentin Tarantino. Tarantino's on that level where his films, since they are able to please a mainstream audience but be so layered with the things they do, I don't even fully understand them yet, let alone can I ever criticize them. But one interesting point, since we are comparing them to this old Japanese stuff, I have a newfound love of this thing called pink films that we discovered in the second. You look so happy right now.
I am happy.
Look what you have
proud.
shown me, pink films. I really meant that when we were talking about. I think it's the best goddamn idea ever, and I'm amazed that it's not just one, but a genre.
Yeah.
An entire collection of films I can find that do this. Pink films, if you weren't around for that episode, are what I've been describing to people as naked female ninja assassin movies.
Yep.
They are dead serious ninja assassin films. They just have nudity in them, or as much as Japan will allow. Tarantino films, on the other hand, for a man who loves his grindhouse and his violence and has David Carradine saying cunt at the end of the movie
Right.
as everyone in the scene laughs, they're vulgar, they're profane, they don't have nudity.
Keep the titties in the sheet.
They keep the titties in. Wow, that's a callback to something I don't think we ever even talked about on the air. No, we did. That was Hellraiser,
Yeah.
right? That was what that was. I'm not really sure what my question is here. Why? I'm curious about that.
Yeah.
I wonder what a Tarantino movie would look like with nudity. I guess I make that association in my head because I'm a fan of vulgar things, and I feel the need, as you may have noticed, now officially halfway through year 4 of Double Feature, to insert nudity anytime possible. One other thing I love about Kill Bill, Karen, Lisa's assassin. It's so quick. It's so very momentary. But, Lisa, I think it's Lisa Wong's assassin, right?
Mhm.
Two characters that we
Counter-assassin.
barely know anything about. Lisa Wong's assassin with the dirty mouth
Right.
that enters this hotel room uses the line, "I'm a fucking surgeon with this shotgun."
Yeah.
Which, for all the Tarantinoisms and the things people quote from Big Kahuna Burger, whatever,
Mhm.
"I'm a fucking surgeon with this shotgun," for some reason is one of the most beautiful phrases.
It's because
to me.
first-person shooters reign supreme on internet gaming.
Love them shooters. And then one of the best credit sequences in
Which one?
ever. The first one,
Okay.
I think. Well, here's what I like. And, they don't do anything too flashy with the credits. They just show the characters from the movie. It's a very classic thing to do with the credits.
And then they show Superman defeated, laying it in the lawn.
They do. It's really funny when they get to Bill, just laying there limp on the, in the fucking grass, with Chingon over the whole thing, which just makes it that much better. Just listening to a song I really dig and seeing a bunch of people from a movie I just watched. Right. After your 4-hour epic, you want to revisit the characters all one more time. And it's such a great, theater thing to do because then everybody can applaud their favorite characters and stuff. It makes it a real event. Twice might be more than necessary, but I love that they start with the characters from the first movie. Yeah. Because no one remembers that. Yeah. We did it a week ago, and we don't remember who was in that movie or what happened. It's what I was just talking about, where you watch Kill Bill 2, and since you watched it second, you go, this is the better fucking movie, obviously. This movie's great. The credits, for just a brief second, say, hey, remember back to the first movie? That was pretty fucking good, too.
We have a website, which is doublefeatureshow.com.
Yeah, you could go on there for those chapter things. I didn't mean to cut through that. I realize some people don't get the chapters, and some people do, and I just worry about everybody getting to that section where they think, oh, fuck, I gotta fast forward through this. I realize the irony that the section is now becoming that section. I understand that. Don't give me that look.
If you're sore that we didn't give the credit due to your favorite Rocky film, that's what doublefeatureshow@gmail.com
I want some very specific things this week.
Okay, tell me.
First thing I want is Paulie's robot. Okay. I just do something funny with it and just send it to us. Okay. Yeah. You know what? If you have no Photoshop skill or you don't care enough, just send us a picture of Paulie's robot. Yeah. Just Google it. Pick one on like page 6 where no one's going to send the same one, and just send a stupid picture of Paulie's robot. Go in Photoshop, put a funny hat on it, whatever you want to do. I just want a huge collection of pictures of this stupid robot. Second thing is we still want some feedback on the Asia Adventure Rocky thing.
We're moving into phase 3.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, it's coming down to the last little section.
Phase 3 is when the whole genre boomerangs back to Asia, and we see how Asia's responded to Kill Bill.
I am so excited for that. It's actually hard for me to continue doing our normal show. I really just want to skip right to that stuff.
You're going to fucking love it.
I know. I'm so pumped about it. But here's the thing. Here's the problem. Now, we come on here and we go, hey, we do actually want to know how you feel about this stuff. Much like donations, I think everybody at home listening goes, oh, that message is for everybody but me. Right. Other people are taking care of that. Less than 0.1% of our listener base emails us upon suggestion or sends us a donation. So, by the way, if you want to send a donation, that would be great, because we haven't gotten pretty much any of those ever.
Optional, not obligatory.
Not obligatory. Important to point out. Server bill, just paid that. $275. So, I mean, I'm just saying, if you want to, all right, that's not the point. The point is, much like donations, everyone hears it and goes, that's not me they're talking to. I'm talking to the person listening to this right now. You. Maybe I'll try rephrasing this. I'm talking to you, dear listener. Here's the thing. You're going on this little journey here with us. You're watching and listening to these different films or movies, or maybe you're not, these different episodes of our show. We actually want to know what people thought of this idea. Not because we're going to adjust it at all, because fuck that, we enjoy it. But we're curious, the response. We're curious what impact this is having, if people feel like they're going on a little trek, if they're learning along with us, if they hate it. If you feel nothing, just send us an email and let us know you don't care either way.
We need to know if we do stuff right.
As much as we joke about how we're going to do whatever we want, we don't take any feedback.
That's a total lie.
We do actually sit down at goddamn Starbucks and spend hours coming up with schedules for the year. That was one thing we considered. We sat there and we went, is anyone going to want to listen to all these weird Asia things?
It was a really rough call, but I'm
really glad we did it. Yeah, definitely. Woohoo. Next time on the show.
Okay, next time we're going to do
something with less stabbing.
We're going to do something with some hilarious comedy duos that Double Features never touched on before.
Great. What are those?
We're going to do Bud Abbott and Lou Costello meet Frankenstein.
Good.
That's one movie. We're going to pair that with Cheech and Chong's Up in Smoke.
I guess that means the hour-long robot joke episode has finally come to an end.
So in that case, watch more fucking film.
Bye.